Children have always been interested in the work of the police, fire and ambulance services, often playing those roles in their games. Now Essex County Council and the emergency services are taking that spirit of play and using it to get serious messages across.
So often today, sort of young people are put down and their behaviour is slated by the press and so on, and actually we wanted to do something really positive.
It's about the children understanding how to deal with an emergency, how to keep themselves safe.
I guess you could say in a way it was kind of training us, for the future maybe.
I agree with Liam.
The challenge for Essex County Council, who pioneered this project, was to take the complex experience of responding to an emergency and distill it into a form that could easily be taught in the classroom.
We've worked with schools for a number of years, but it's been a bit piecemeal really. We've gone in with different age groups and it hasn't been joined up. What we wanted to do is to work with the other agencies that also go into schools.
Certainly in my school, during this time of the year, we do a project about Canvey Island anyhow, so it's slotted ideally in with what we were going to be doing, and certainly some of the other schools have found that they've been able to do that as well. I think initially at first with some of the teachers they were going to have to come off curriculum and so on to fit this in, but again I think the commitment of all of the head teachers on the island has been such that they've been able to facilitate that for their staff.
I was really sceptical, I'll be honest. I didn't think it would work. I didn't think the children would engage with it. I thought it might scare them. I was annoyed that it would interrupt my planning and the things that I'd got already prepared. And so sort of initially I was really reluctant to take part. However, the children have really taken it on board. They've engaged with it completely. They are absolutely loving it and they're getting an awful lot out of it.
The most important thing for us to do is to develop toolkits which are usable by teachers, and so we listened to what they needed and we were able to develop online products as well, which will be easily integrated into lessons and would cross all of the curriculum.
Pupils were encouraged to develop their literacy and numeracy skills through problem solving and communication in the role plays. They called on science, technology and design skills to understand the environment and the materials they are exploring, and brought in geography, history and art to round out the response to the scenarios they were faced with. Sets of resources have been produced for Key Stage 1 and Key Stage 2 pupils, with a different set for Key Stage 3. On Canvey Island, they've been working with the first two.
They've had talks by the police officers and the emergency team from the council. And they've looked at what emergency situations they have actually been part of.
They're telling you, if you do something, it will have consequences. So you have to think about what's going to come after.
They've really thought about what it means to them and how their family and their community would pull together and deal with an emergency.
Well, it's really fun because you get the chance to act out, and it's really fun when you're doing it because you get to go into role and you get to do all the different acting parts, and it's really exciting because you don't know what you're going to have to do.
We've been doing an awful lot of role play. The children in my class have been role playing what would happen if they set up an emergency rest centre. They've role played their response to different types of emergencies, both big and small. When the fire officer came in, he got them to brainstorm all different types of emergencies and look at what the response would be in a big emergency or a small one, and obviously, as it turns out, the response is the same.
Really, they're telling us this so that we can be safe in the future.
Working with school children, we recognise that there are different learning attitudes in Key Stages 1, 2 and 3, so we had to be more specific in the way in which we designed that project. So for Key Stages 1 and 2, it was more important for us to have much more interactive and doing things. Key Stage 3 was very much about what they have to do in terms of an exercise. Newhall actually wanted to go off-site, so we agreed that we'd go to the Emergency Response Centre at County Hall in Chelmsford, and that proved to be really successful because the environment gave the children a real feel of being a professional and being able to role play through that exercise.
Well, I think it was handled extremely well, as it was in the morning on Monday, so many of the hospitals had many patients and hospital beds were full. It was dangerous chemical, which would have, under any circumstances would have been hard to handle, so we're generally trying to control that and clean that up, but otherwise it's all back normal.
The students were 12 years old and we made no concessions whatsoever in terms of their role and responsibilities in the exercise. For example, they didn't even have lunch breaks. They had to play it for real.
I'm speaking on behalf of National Express, and earlier this morning a cargo train crashed into the wreckage of a lorry that had overturned on the White Hart Lane railway bridge. The cargo train didn't have any passengers on it, but we are currently looking into what happened to the driver, and we are liaising with the fire and ambulance service as to who's going to look into this rescue of the driver. So we've closed the railway line between Chelmsford and Witham, and all train drivers have been notified throughout Essex. Passengers that aren't on the trains at the moment is being warned not to get on the trains as there are major delays, but people on trains are being evacuated to the nearest stations.
Well, I would certainly advocate the importance of critical thinking in the curriculum for any school. Critical thinking is something that really has to be done by any school seriously considering preparing students for higher education. It can be done as a discrete subject. It can be integrated into other subjects in the curriculum. This sort of event could be very easy to relate to subjects such as citizenship and geography, for example. We've got our head of geography with us today who's been very interested in this. So I think it's been a very exciting and engaging and useful exercise that can have some cross-curricular application.
The debrief was really exciting. It was out of the ordinary. We got a fire engine in and the children absolutely loved it. In fact, they climbed all over it and sounded the sirens. It's about getting out of role play, it's getting back to normality, and it's actually stepping back and understanding what they've just learned. The Essex Resilience Forum actually provided the forum for all the other agencies that get involved in working with schools, the police, fire, ambulance, other agencies, and more importantly, we've brought in local communities and local businesses.
I think it's very important because if you can teach them at an early age, obviously they have a great understanding and you can build on that as well. And we do like to be part of the community. We forge close links with schools at every facility we've got, so I think it's very important.
What we're going to be doing is to roll this out nationally. It is so important for others to do this piece of work as well. We can't do it on our own. We need to engage our communities to share that learning. And once we share that learning, we'll be much better in preparing ourselves in the event of an emergency.
I think they need a sense of community. I think within our society at the moment, a sense of community is what we're starting to lack, as it were. Where in the old days, when the flood happened on Canvey, the community pulled together and helped each other out. And I'd like to think that this kind of work would enable the community to have that kind of spirit again.
Children are really important for us to get that message out to the wider community. We know that they share so much of their learning, even through just talking, their homework, anything that will engage their parents, engage their wider community. And this project has been able to do that.
I stand here this afternoon very, very proud indeed as the Essex County Councillor, because out of all the towns and villages and parishes, etc., my council chose Canvey Island for this particular subject. And it's not something in which we wish to scare you or worry you, but you've got to face up to life, that we have always got to look to see if something could and would happen.
Normally the adults don't even know how to cope in an emergency situation, but the way that these young people have demonstrated today how they can do it, it's absolutely amazing. One lad that was there, he was so sure of what to do, I thought, if I'm stuck in a situation, I'd want to be in his house. But the thing is, with this and young people, it will stick with them for always. And I think that's the key message here, that what's been taught to them and what they have learnt will be with them forever.